What if I told you that there was another Jalen Johnson or even John Collins type in this year's draft? And what if I also told you that the Atlanta Hawks have a high chance of drafting this player to be a staple in the organization going forward? Would you believe me? Would you look at me and say, okay, yeah, I don't see what you're talking about? But in this video, I'm going to break down who this draft prospect is, but also how this person can help the Atlanta Hawks going forward. And spoiler alert, if you stick to the end, I'll tell you how the Atlanta Hawks can not only make 2 draft picks this year, but also get a perennial all-star on their team to help this organization propel going forward. Now, for those who are looking at me, saying, I'm in, I want that third option. Who is this player? I am referring to the Georgia center, Asa Newell. Now, for a lot of people out there watching, you're very familiar with Asa Newell's game, and you're familiar with him being a very, very good player for the Georgia Bulldogs. And I would say I agree. And up until this point, he was a top 10, maybe even top 8 selection on a lot of people's consensus boards. But there's something that recently happened that has shifted this momentum and kind of given the Atlanta Hawks an opportunity to not only select him, but select him with their second pick in the first round. Now, for those wondering, what was this shift? It was Asa Newell's draft combine. And I'm not saying, no, he had a terrible combine, but his measurables came in a little bit lighter than people anticipated. And I'm going to read you this tweet that showcased his measurables and said this: Asa Newell, barefoot, he was 6'9". Now, that was a big deal because a lot of people thought he was 6'10", 6'11", and even 7 foot at sometimes. And so for him to come in at 6'9", it kind of basically pushed a lot of GMs and teams away. But if I'm the Atlanta Hawks, I'm continuing to take a shot, especially at pick number 22. He was 223 pounds. He was a 6'11 wingspan. He had an 8'11 and a half standing reach. Still really, really, really good size, but not the type of size that people want at a starting center going forward. And honestly, a top 10, maybe top 8 pick. So because of this measurables, I think he fell out of the lottery, but that is a win for the Atlanta Hawks. Now moving on, Asa Newell, other than his measurables, had a phenomenal pro day and a phenomenal draft combine. A lot of people thought they loved his versatility, they loved his ability to make plays, but also they loved his improved shooting. And in this, I'm going to show you a tweet that basically highlights what people are saying about Asa Newell at the draft combine and at his pre-draft kind of momentum going forward. And in this tweet, it says this: a 6'10" Asa Newell size, mobility, and aggressiveness, skill level, and intensity are significant assets that allowed him to have a highly productive, efficient freshman campaign. The 19-year-old has strong potential to grow into the long term. So I want to show you something else that says this: Asa Newell, and this is talking about his draft combine, had a solid showing at the combine and impressed with his shooting during his pro day. His mobility and two-way versatility make him a seamless fit in today's modern NBA. One more thing I want to read you. It says this: Georgia forward Asa Newell showed off his effortless spring, non-stop motor, and improving perimeter shooting at Excel Sports Pro Day in Chicago. The 6'10", 19-year-old has a strong foundation to build on long term. I will say this: Atlanta Hawks fans, what do all of these skill sets sound like? What 2 players do all these skill sets resemble? I'll tell you this. Number 1, Jalen Johnson. A lot of people said he didn't have a great perimeter shooting outside game, but he had effortless spring, just like Asa Newell, and his motor and his intensity made plays easy for him on the offensive and defensive end. I want to maybe go back even 10 more years. They said the same about John Collins. He wasn't a great outside shooter, but his motor and effort and his effortless spring made plays on both the offensive and defensive end. Asa Newell has a lot of characteristics of John Collins and Jalen Johnson. And if I'm the Atlanta Hawks, I'm taking a long and hard look at Asa Newell, especially if I'm thinking about replacing Jalen Johnson, which I'll talk about in the future. Now, like I mentioned, Asa Newell can be a baller and can be a really good player for the Atlanta Hawks. I think personally he will probably slot in to be a power forward somewhere. A lot of teams aren't going to use him at center, but I think he has the ability to play a small lineup center that we see a lot of these teams going into. I think he is a more athletic, more skilled version of this team's current Larry Nance, But like I said, he could have the potential to be this year's Jalen Johnson. It depends on development and how you're able to develop his outside game. Now, I want to show you one more thing. So as you can see, coming out in the draft combine, in the draft physical comps, they were both the same age. John Collins was basically an inch shorter than Asa Newell, and they were same size, wingspan, and standing reach, essentially. Basically, Asa Newell has the same size as John Collins coming out, and I think that is a great comp, especially when John Collins turned this into a 10-plus year career in the NBA. Now, moving forward, I told you I'll tell you something at the very end. Asa Newell has the potential to play and be really, really good. He has the characteristics, he has the size, he has the weight, he has the frame, and he has the high-intensity bounce and motor, something that you cannot teach. But I will say this. If the Atlanta Hawks are trying to get aggressive and move into a direction where they start to get more star talent around Trae Young, I think there is a scenario. Now, a lot of people aren't going to say this, but if Giannis or someone else becomes available, there is a scenario where the Atlanta Hawks could trade Jalen Johnson and replace him. They're not going to fully replace Jalen Johnson, but replace his size, length, strength with Asa Newell. I think you're able to get away with that transaction, especially if you're able to bring an all-star caliber player in like Giannis or Kevin Durant. I think this is possible, and I'm not saying Asa Newell is on the same level right now as Jalen Johnson, but the Atlanta Hawks, with their second pick in the first draft, have the potential to draft Asa Newell, who could be a player that can comp and turn out to be the next Jalen Johnson or John Collins in the future. So I will say this, Atlanta Hawks fans. If Giannis is thinking about coming to Atlanta and you're thinking about trading Jalen Johnson for Giannis, think about the potential of not only getting Giannis, but getting a young version of Jalen Johnson from a size and basically jumping ability in Asa Newell. But that's what I wanted to say. Asa Newell is a bona fide baller. A lot of people have him going in the late first round. I think some people have him going 24 or going to the Utah Jazz late first round. And I think he'll be a steal for the Atlanta Hawks with their second pick at pick number 22. But if you agree, leave a comment down below. Let me know how you feel about Asa Newell. And if you want to see more videos like this, check this one out right here. And like always, peace.